Thank you for joining me. Today is episode 117, and I'm Kathy Rhodes, and I'm so thankful that I get to spend some time with you. We're going to think differently today about your value. Your value. How do you value yourself? How do you rate your value? Is it high? Do you give yourself high value, low value? Do you rate yourself on like a scale of 1 to 10, or maybe you give yourself some adjectives to define the value that you see within yourself? Many times I know that I don't understand the value that other people place on themselves until maybe they share a story or share a story of a tattoo. That seems to be a big thing lately. Sometimes we keep our value secret, and that might be because we don't maybe put a high value to ourselves. Well, life's going to throw a bunch of challenges your way. If you don't already know this, spoiler alert. Life is just going to throw a bunch of challenges your way that's going to affect how we see ourselves. I'm going to share some of my story with you and how I've defined, I guess, my value. Nobody cares about you as much as you do. I've said that for years. I've said it to my kids. I say it to myself. Nobody cares about you as much as you do. Not your mom, not your spouse, not your friend. And the reason I say this is because people don't understand the gaps that are in your mind. They don't understand what you don't know or what you don't understand. You may not even understand it, but you have the power to seek understanding. And that's the power that we have within us. We have so much power. We have so much superpower within us that we create our value, and we can seek to grow and get better at whatever it is that we're struggling with. Since nobody cares about you as much as you do, nobody values you as much as you're really worth. And this has been a life journey for me to figure out. We have worth that might not always be beneficial for certain people. That's okay. That's okay. But nobody's going to value us for what we're totally worth. We need to own that, and we need to step foot into that journey. So here's my story. My value has definitely been challenged through the years, and that's a normal process, okay? That's part of growing up into adulthood. Totally normal process, but particularly in the jobs that I've worked, that's where my value has been challenged. I have been downsized 3 times in my corporate career. In the years, I don't even know, 35 years of work, quick math, 35 years of working in the world, and I've been downsized 3 times. And I've kind of used that as a joke, like, hey, I'm the queen of downsizing. But I'm also humiliated or humbled by that because, I don't know if it's funny, I don't know if it's good, I don't know if it's bad, but it's just a fact, okay? It's a fact. And each time really created a different thought in my mind and a different value. So the first time I was downsized, I was young. I was so young. I was young in the workforce, and I was young by age. I was 23 years old. This was my first job out of college. I worked there for 2 years, and then a big company came to town and bought out the company I was working for. And they downsized 450 people here in the Dubuque, Iowa area because they didn't need duplicates. They had their own corporate office. They had accountants. They had business people. They didn't need the corporate accounting department of this business they were purchasing. So logically, it makes sense, right? You don't need duplicate positions. But wow, it was a blow that I didn't see coming. I didn't even know was possible. So to be honest, this was back in the late 90s because I was pregnant with my second child. So it was the late 90s, and it may not have really been a thing yet, but it started becoming a thing. Because downsizing or restructuring or whatever you want, or laying off, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, has really become a popular thing since then. But back in the late 90s, I was pregnant. Um, and then we had about 4 months. It was announced in December before Christmas, and we had 4 months before our positions were totally eliminated. So we had 4 months of getting paid, but then we had a severance package, and then help with unemployment and all of that stuff. But what happened during those 4 months is a learning lesson, okay? So first of all, the job that I did, it was fresh out of college. It wasn't a hard job. It actually was a very simple job. It didn't challenge me much at all, but it gave me an understanding of work, okay, an understanding of corporate world. So, the blessing was that I was downsized, because then I went and found something different that challenged me a little more. The learning lesson, though, is I really adapted the behaviors and the attitudes of my coworkers. There was a lot. There were 450 people who were downsized, and there was a lot of emotion, a lot of attitude, a lot of anger, a lot of disgruntledness. So, we had to do menial work in those 4 months, like go through the filing cabinets and remove all staples, all paper clips, all binder clips, and recycle all the paper. Ugh, thanks. That's good. There was a time when I was bringing my crafts to work and doing my crafts at work because we were kind of bored. This is also when we were given access to the internet back in 97. We got the internet on our work computers, so we surfed the internet. By the way, there wasn't much out on the internet back then. So surfing, we got through the internet pretty much in 2 hours. But the learning lesson is be careful. We get to choose the attitude that we want. We get to choose who we want to be. And I didn't realize and understand that, and I just adapted the attitude around me. Well, what happened was when I did get a different job and move on with my life, I took that attitude and those bad habits with me. And I remember being in my new job. I remember a few revelations. Number one, wow, it's hard work on my body to work for 8 hours a day. I didn't really work at my previous job in the last few months, for a full 8 hours. Second of all, the attitude, the disgruntledness came with me. And I remember one day thinking, what's this about? Why am I like this? Well, because it was a habit that was created over about 7 months. And that's not who I want to be. That's not who I want to be. Only I have the power to change that. Okay, so you know what? Be careful. Be careful the habits you pick up. Be careful of the attitude that you have. And above anything, chalk it up to a learning lesson, right? All right, so that was my first downsizing experience. Another downsizing experience, I worked for the company for over 10 years. And this one, they invested in me over the time. Okay, so they invested in me. There's a lot of growth. I invested in them. I felt ownership in the company that I worked for. And I worked in different departments that really got to touch the whole organization. And there was a lot of fun, a lot of learning, a lot of growth, a lot of amazing opportunities. I was definitely challenged, better than my first job, right? I had challenge going on. There was growth. There were also struggles. There were actually a lot of struggles. There were a lot of personality challenges. There was a lot of discrepancies and, questionable the ethics of the organization and the ethics of the leadership. I scratch that. The ethics of the management, because there really wasn't leadership. There was management. But the blessings, right? Okay, so it was a blessing that I was downsized because I had visions for this organization. I took one of my visions to the president and wasn't interested. And really, what he wasn't interested in was me. Because as soon as I was downsized, they hired somebody in the same position of where my vision was. That was hard. Okay, that was like crushing. Now, the blessings, my best friend today came from that job. She actually hired me. She was my boss. That was the one leader. That was one leader within that organization. And so there's that blessing. The blessings of, it was actually a blessing that I was not valued there. There was a lot of attitude that started spurring me. There was actually a lot of kind of depression. There were a few things that happened that pretty much floored me over the time that I was there. So, the blessing was that all did happen because I didn't want to stay. I wanted to stay if it got better, but I didn't want to stay if it stayed that same way. The learning lessons here, it took me 3 years to be thankful for that job and to forgive the people. 3 years is a long time, and I know it was 3 years because I remember the day I drove by the place and I said, you know what, thank you for giving me an opportunity. And I even stopped and paused and went, wow, I haven't done that. That kind of feels good. Forgiveness is for us, not the people we're forgiving. It felt good, and that's when I calculated. I'm like, wow, 3 years of this attitude and anger that was just brewing within me. There's a learning lesson there, right? There's a learning lesson there. Be thankful for the jobs we have, even if it's not really the best. Here's the thing. We are hired to do the vision of the organization. We're not hired to do our own vision. That's called self-employed, entrepreneur. We're hired to do what the employer or the organization wants us to do. And when that changes, when we're no longer the fit, it's crushing on us. We don't like to be rejected. I don't like to be rejected. I don't like to be devalued. But seriously, sometimes other people and organizations don't find what you offer as valuable anymore. And I say that and I kind of shrug off, but when I'm in the moment, when I left that organization, I left with an attitude. I left with just a chip on my shoulder. Ooh, well, like I said, 3 years it lasted. Okay, so that's organization number 2. Organization number 3. When I was downsized from the third organization, again, I was there for, I don't know, maybe it was 10 years or so. I was invested. They invested in me through the years. They gave me a great opportunity to do what I love to do. I worked in the training world before corporate training was a thing. So what a blessing. What a blessing. Well, when I was notified of downsizing, I did not see it coming. And for the first time, I feel like I finally got it right. I was shocked, but I was thankful right there in that moment. I didn't have any emotion. I just listened. I didn't have any emotion, but I started crying when I thanked them. I thanked them for the opportunity. I'm going to cry right now. Oh my gosh, I don't get emotional. What's the deal? I thank them for the opportunity. I thank them for strengthening me and building me. And I truly meant it. I truly felt it. I mean, the last downsizing took me 3 years to feel it. I was so glad that I think I finally did this right. I was able to tell them thank you in that moment. The learning lessons, well, you know what? There's so many the learning lessons, but really the confidence that it gave me. Sometimes, for example, I have visions for training and learning and development, and I have all kinds of great visions for different organizations. But that organization is paying me to do what they want me to do. Now, I'm on my own. I get to do this for many companies who truly do match who I am. They match my values. They match my vision. That is so much more exciting for me to work with many organizations that are connected. Every organization has a mission statement these days. They also have value words or customer service standards or whatever they want to call them. But so do we. Okay, so do we. We have value words. We have a mission statement. Whether you've ever created it or not, it exists. And when your value and purpose does not match whoever you're working with, then it's not a match. Then you need to move on. And that's okay. It's taken me 3 downsizings in my 30-some years of corporate careers to realize that it's okay. And it's actually a blessing. It's a blessing to have your time with certain people and certain markets, and it's a blessing to move on. So I want to encourage, for whoever this is for, I want to encourage you today that you have value. Okay, you have value. You know what your value is. And sometimes when it doesn't match, it's okay. It's okay. Remember, nobody cares about you as much as you do. Others cannot label you. Okay? Others cannot put a value on you. They can't put a number on you. They can't create an adjective. Only you do. Only you do. So whoever you are, whatever your personality behaviors are, whatever your value words are, go find the people that connect with you. Go bring your value. They need you. The world needs you. And you have value that nobody else can bring. So today, here's a little New Year's challenge. Figure out your purpose statement and figure out your value words. My value words are challenge, habit, efficient, empowered, and health. Those are the 5 value words that just define me. And here's how I put it into a phrase. I love to challenge the way you think. I love to challenge your habits so that you become more efficient and fully empowered in life. And stay healthy. That word just didn't fit in my sentence, but it all comes together. It's just what's important to me. So if you have those same values, that's why we might connect. So I hope this topic today has challenged you to think differently. Think differently about yourself. Think differently about the value that you bring to this world. I hope it makes you more efficient, but most importantly, I hope it makes you fully empowered to own wherever you're at. Own it, embrace it, and go into the world ready to give everything you have. The world needs you. Be great today. Enjoy the Thanksgiving holiday. I'm very, very thankful for you. We'll see you next week.